The evening was quiet, soft with the lingering warmth of a late autumn sun. Margaret slowly stepped off the bus at the small station of her hometown, the place where every brick, every corner seemed to hum with memories. The familiar scent of damp earth mixed with the faint aroma of baked bread from the bakery down the lane. She paused, breathing in deeply, letting the air wrap around her like a gentle embrace. Take a slow breath. Feel the world around you, familiar and kind. She picked up her small, worn suitcase, its handle smooth from years of use. Walking along the narrow streets, she noticed the subtle changes, the new lampposts, the freshly painted benches, but the heart of the town remained unchanged. There was comfort in knowing that even as years passed, some things held their place. Notice the little details, the familiar shapes and colors that tell a story of home. Margaret's steps slowed as she reached the old oak tree at the corner of Maple Avenue. She remembered leaning against its sturdy trunk as a child, feeling safe beneath its sprawling branches. Now she traced her fingers along its rough bark, connecting with that memory and with herself in another time. Sometimes the simplest touch can bring you home, to a place inside yourself. The houses here were modest, each with its own small garden. Some gardens were overflowing with life, roses, dahlias, and chrysanthemums blooming in orderly chaos. Others had a gentle neglect, a quiet beauty in wild grass and wandering vines. Margaret smiled softly, thinking of how life, like gardens, could flourish in unexpected ways, whether tended carefully or left to grow freely. Even in quietness, life finds its way, in blooms, in rustling leaves, in small joys. As she approached her own home, Margaret paused once more. The front door, slightly chipped at the edges, opened onto a house that had held laughter, sorrow, and countless quiet mornings. She let herself in, greeted by the familiar creak of the floorboards and the soft echo of her footsteps. Dust motes danced lazily in the golden light filtering through the curtains. She set down her suitcase and exhaled, letting the familiar space envelop her in calm. Step gently into your space. Let the stillness welcome you. Margaret wandered into the kitchen, her eyes falling on the small table where she had once written letters to friends and family. She opened a drawer, pulling out a faded notebook. The pages were filled with sketches of flowers, little notes of encouragement she had written to herself over the years. Smiling, she traced the pencil marks with her fingers, remembering the quiet moments of self-reflection, the tiny joys of connecting with her own thoughts. Memories are a soft thread, weaving you into the fabric of your own life. Later, she moved to the living room and sank into her favorite armchair. It was well worn, shaped by years of her presence, the fabric softened in the places where her hands and back had rested countless times. Margaret gazed out the window at the street below. A soft breeze rustled the leaves, carrying with it the distant laughter of children playing, the bark of a dog, the faint hum of evening life. Even in solitude, there was a quiet companionship in the rhythm of the town. Listen, the world outside carries gentle reminders that life continues quietly alongside you. Margaret picked up a cup of warm tea from the table, savoring the heat that traveled through her palms and into her chest. She closed her eyes, letting herself simply be present. The simple act of sipping, of feeling the warmth, was enough to anchor her in the moment. She thought of the friends she had lost touch with, the family now far away. But instead of sadness, she felt a tender gratitude. Each memory, each connection had shaped her life, and they still lived within her. Let gratitude rise quietly for all that has been and all that still exists within you. Evening slowly turned to night, and Margaret wandered through her home, turning on a lamp here, adjusting a cushion there, noticing small details she had overlooked in years past. Every corner held a story, a memory waiting to be remembered. She found an old photograph tucked behind a frame, a picture of her younger self laughing under the same oak tree she had visited earlier. Holding it gently, she felt a warmth spread through her chest, a connection across time. The past and present meet in quiet moments, reminding you that life, in all its seasons, is yours to cherish. Finally, Margaret returned to the armchair, pulling a soft blanket round her shoulders. She closed her eyes, letting her mind wander through the familiar streets, the faces she remembered, the small, unremarkable moments that had made life rich. She realized that being alone did not mean being lonely. Presence could be found in memory, in reflection, in small acts of care for oneself. Tonight, allow yourself to rest, to feel connected, even in solitude. You are not alone. The house was silent now, but Margaret's heart felt gently full. She listened to the quiet sounds of the night, the distant hum of a car, the rustle of leaves, the soft sigh of the wind against the window. Each sound was a reminder of the continuity of life, of the small, beautiful moments that existed even in solitude. Breathe slowly. Let the quiet of the night soothe you. The world and your memories hold you tenderly. She let herself drift, knowing that tomorrow would bring a new day to walk through the streets of her hometown, to reconnect with old memories, to notice small joys. For now she rested, cradled in her own space, in the warmth of familiar walls, in the embrace of her own life's journey. Rest now. Let the night carry you softly into dreams. You are safe. You are seen. You are remembered. The next morning, sunlight spilled gently through the curtains, painting the walls of Margaret's home in soft golden hues. She rose slowly, stretching her arms, feeling the familiar ache of age mingled with the comfort of a body that had carried her through years of living. There was no rush today, just the quiet rhythm of a morning unhurried. Start with a slow stretch. Feel each movement, gentle and alive. Margaret moved to the small kitchen where the aroma of freshly brewed coffee greeted her. She poured a cup, savoring the warmth in her hands, letting the steam rise into her face. The morning light caught the edge of a vase of wildflowers on the windowsill, petals trembling slightly in the soft breeze from the open window. Notice the simple beauty, the light, the warmth, the colors around you. Today, she decided to take a walk through the streets of her youth. Pulling on a light coat and sturdy shoes, she stepped outside. The air was crisp, carrying hints of fallen leaves and the faint sweetness of nearby bakeries. Each step brought a memory, a laugh shared with a childhood friend, a secret hidden under a bench, the scent of rain on warm asphalt. Margaret let herself linger in each memory, not clinging, just noticing and smiling softly. Let your steps carry you through memories, each one a gentle companion. As she walked past the small park, she noticed the swings swaying slowly in the breeze. Children's laughter echoed, bright and unburdened, and she paused, leaning on the railing of the playground. For a moment, she allowed herself to imagine joining them, to feel the lightness of youth again, if only in spirit. Remember the joy of play. It lives quietly inside you, even now. She continued to the old library, a building that had been a refuge for her for decades. The brick walls, tall windows, and wooden doors carried the faint scent of aged paper and polished wood.
Inside, she wandered slowly among the shelves, fingers brushing the spines of books she had once loved. Each title sparked a memory, a story read aloud to her grandchildren, quiet afternoons with a notebook, ideas that had shaped her thinking. Let the stories remind you, the worlds you've explored, the wisdom you've gathered. Margaret found a small table by the window and sat down, letting the sun warm her face. She opened her notebook again, sketching lightly, writing a few lines of reflection. Her handwriting was slow, deliberate, each stroke an act of mindfulness. She wrote about small joys she had noticed, the way sunlight hit a leaf, the sound of birdsong, the subtle rhythm of breathing while walking. Notice the small wonders, the quiet details that make life gentle and rich. Later, she wandered into a familiar alley lined with quaint shops. A small bakery smelled of cinnamon and sugar, and Margaret allowed herself the indulgence of a fresh pastry. The baker, a kindly man with silver hair, greeted her warmly. They spoke for a few moments about the town, about seasons passing, and about the little moments that made life tender. Margaret felt a soft connection, a reminder that even in solitude, the world offered quiet companionship. Reach for connection, even in small ways, a smile, a kind word, a shared moment. The walk continued to a small pond at the edge of town. Margaret sat on a weathered bench, watching the sunlight shimmer on the water. Ducks glided slowly across the surface, leaving gentle ripples behind them. She took a deep breath, noticing the sound of wind in the reeds, the soft splash of water, and the subtle hum of life moving steadily forward. She let herself simply exist in this moment, feeling the continuity of the world and her place within it. Breathe slowly. Let the world remind you of your presence, your calm, your being.
As the afternoon waned, Margaret found herself in front of her childhood home, now occupied by another family. She smiled softly, imagining the laughter that once filled these rooms, the echoes of voices and footsteps long past. She whispered a small thanks to the house for holding those memories, for shaping the life she now lived. Honor the past. It lives within you, guiding and comforting quietly. The walk home was slower now, as the sun dipped lower, casting long, gentle shadows. Margaret noticed the subtle colors of evening, the soft purples and pinks in the sky, the warm glow of lamps in windows. She paused frequently, letting each sight sink into her awareness, savoring the quiet pleasure of simply being. Notice the transition of the day. Let it teach patience, calm, and presence. Back at home, Margaret prepared a simple dinner, placing the food carefully on her table. She ate slowly, appreciating each bite, letting gratitude for nourishment and life fill her. Afterwards, she settled again in her armchair with a cup of tea, reflecting on the day. She realized that life was not measured in grand gestures, but in these small, mindful moments, moments of noticing, remembering, connecting, and simply being. Reflect gently. The fullness of life exists in small, quiet acts. As night descended, she closed her eyes, imagining the streets she had walked, the benches, the library, the pond. Each memory, each small moment of connection formed a soft tapestry that enveloped her in calm. She felt a deep sense of presence, a gentle reminder that solitude could be tender, full, and nurturing. Tonight, rest with your memories. They are companions, guides, and comforts on your journey.
The room grew dark, lit only by the soft glow of a lamp. Margaret let herself sink into the comfort of the evening, the rhythm of her own breathing, and the quiet continuity of life around her. She understood in this stillness that she was never truly alone. Her memories, her reflections, and the subtle connections of daily life offered a quiet, persistent companionship. Sleep now. Let the quiet of the night and the warmth of your own life cradle you gently. The night settled softly over Margaret's hometown. The streets were quiet, bathed in the pale glow of street lamps, their light spilling across cobblestones with a gentle warmth. Margaret sat by her window, a cup of chamomile tea in hand, feeling the calm seep into her bones. The house around her was silent, but she felt a comforting rhythm in its quiet, the soft ticking of a clock, the distant hum of a heater, the subtle creak of the floorboards as they settled. Feel the gentle rhythm of your home. Let its quiet presence wrap around you. She traced her fingers along the edge of the cup, noticing the warmth, the faint aroma of herbs, and the soft swirl of steam arising into the evening air. In these small moments she found grounding, a reminder that presence could be as simple as noticing, as deliberate as breathing. Focus on the little things, the warmth, the scent, the gentle touch of your own hands. Margaret reached for an old photo album tucked beside her chair. The pages were thick with memories, edges frayed from years of turning. She opened it slowly, pausing on a photograph of her family gathered for a summer picnic. Laughter was frozen in the image, sunlight bright on faces now grown older, some gone, others far away. She smiled softly, feeling both the ache of absence and the warmth of memory. Allow yourself to feel a bittersweet mix of presence and memory. Both hold value. She wrote a letter to a granddaughter who now lives across the country. Margaret's hand moved slowly, thoughtfully. She recounted small stories, little lessons learned, and quiet observations of her town. Each sentence carried intention, a gentle reaching across distance, a bridge of love and care. Use words to reach hearts, even when miles stretch between you.
Later, Margaret wandered into her study, a small room lined with books and a few treasured keepsakes. A soft lamp illuminated the space, casting long, warm shadows across the wooden floor. She sat at her desk, a notebook open, pen in hand. She wrote about her day, the walk through her hometown, the smile from the baker, the play of light on the pond. She noted the calm she had found, the moments of quiet reflection, the gentle joy of simply being. Reflect on your day. Cherish the moments that brought you peace, however small. The evening grew deeper, and Margaret moved to the small balcony outside her bedroom. The night air was cool, carrying the scent of late blooming flowers and damp earth. She leaned against the railing, eyes lifted to the stars, each one a distant companion shining steadily across time. She breathed slowly, letting the vastness of the night remind her of life's quiet continuity. Look to the sky. Let its steady light remind you that life continues, calmly and beautifully. Margaret found comfort in small routines. She prepared a light snack for the next morning, lined up her teacup and kettle, and folded a blanket over her armchair. Each act, small and deliberate, carried a quiet satisfaction, a reminder that caring for oneself, even in simple ways, was an act of presence and love. Tend to yourself gently. The smallest acts are often the most meaningful. She settled again with her cup of tea, this time opening a book of poetry. Her eyes skimmed lines that spoke of seasons, of life's fleeting moments, of love and loss. She let the words wash over her, feeling a kinship with the voices of the past, the echoes of emotions she herself had felt. Let words comfort you. Let them remind you that you're part of a larger story.
Margaret's thoughts wandered back to the people she had loved, the friends she had lost touch with, the neighbors who had come and gone. Instead of dwelling on absence, she allowed herself to feel gratitude. Each connection had shaped her life, each memory a tender companion. Loneliness did not feel sharp tonight. It felt like a quiet space where reflection and presence could coexist. Shift your perspective. Solitude can be a gentle companion when approached with care. As the night deepened, Margaret lit a small candle by the window. Its soft flame flickered, casting a gentle glow across the room. She watched the shadows dance lightly on the walls, each movement a subtle reminder of life's impermanence and its beauty. In this light, she felt the rhythm of her own heartbeat, steady and calm, a reminder that presence itself was a gift. Notice your own heartbeat. It is a quiet affirmation of life, of presence, of being. Before turning in for the night, she wrote one final note in her journal, the simple list of moments that had brought her joy today. The warmth of the sun on her face, the laughter of children in the park, the gentle nod from the baker, the ripple of ducks on the pond, the quiet aroma of tea. She closed the journal, feeling her heart quietly full, and prepared for sleep with a sense of gentle completeness. Reflect on your day's gifts. Even the smallest moments hold meaning and warmth. Finally, Margaret lay in bed, a soft quilt drawn around her. She closed her eyes, letting the gentle hum of the night fill her senses. The rhythm of the town, the memories she carried, the soft continuity of life, all converged into a gentle lullaby for her spirit. She felt a serene presence in her solitude, a quiet joy in being fully here, fully alive, fully herself. Rest now. Let the calm of your life and the warmth of your memories carry you into sleep.
Morning light came gently, spilling across Margaret's bedroom walls and spilling onto the quilt that had kept her warm through the night. She stretched slowly, listening to the familiar sounds of her home waking with her, the soft creak of the floorboards, the hum of the refrigerator, the distant chirping of birds outside the window. Today felt like an invitation to notice, to engage, and to savor life's quiet rhythms. Start your day slowly. Let each sound, each motion be a reminder that you are present. Margaret began her morning with a simple ritual, tending to her small indoor garden. She carefully watered her potted plants, brushing away fallen leaves and whispering small words of encouragement as if speaking to old friends. She paused to admire the delicate blooms, the new shoots pushing toward the light, and felt a deep, comforting sense of continuity. Tend to what grows around you. The act itself is gentle nourishment for your spirit. After her morning routine, Margaret decided to visit the local community center. It was a place she hadn't frequented in years, yet she remembered it fondly. The laughter, the shared stories, and the quiet comfort of human presence. As she walked in, the warm smiles of familiar faces greeted her. People were engaged in knitting, reading, or simply sitting in conversation. Margaret joined a small group quietly, her presence alone enough to add to the gentle energy of the room. Even small connections can bring warmth. You don't need words to belong. She spent time sketching alongside a group of fellow hobbyists, the soft scratch of pencil on paper blending with low murmurs of conversation. Margaret noticed how her heart felt lighter. Each line she drew a meditation, each shared glance a reminder that life's simple joys could be found in community. Notice the comfort of shared silence. Creativity and connection often walk hand in hand. Later, Margaret strolled through a quiet street lined with cafes and small shops. She stopped at a cafe she had loved as a younger woman. The barista recognized her,
greeting her with a warm, familiar smile. They exchanged a few words about the weather, about neighbors, and about the seasons that had passed. Margaret felt gratitude for these small interactions. They were threads of connection, weaving a subtle, comforting pattern in her day. Cherish small conversations. The heart notices kindness, even in brief exchanges. Margaret returned home in the afternoon, carrying a small bouquet of wildflowers she had picked along the way. She arranged them carefully on the kitchen table, noting the way sunlight touched the petals and how their colors seemed to brighten the room. It was a small gesture, but one that reminded her of life's beauty, even in quiet, solitary moments. Bring beauty into your space. Even simple acts can lift the spirit. In the evening, she prepared a simple meal with mindful attention. Each motion, chopping vegetables, stirring a pot, arranging the plate, was deliberate, a meditation in action. She ate slowly, savoring flavors, textures, and the sense of nourishment that extended beyond the body into her mind and heart. Be present with your own care. Tending to yourself is a gentle act of love. After dinner, she moved to her armchair with a favorite blanket and a journal. She wrote about her day, the plants she had nurtured, the soft connections with others, the colors of the flowers, and the warmth she had felt from small acts of kindness. She noted that solitude could hold richness, and that even quiet moments carried subtle teachings about life, presence, and gratitude. Reflect on your day's gentle lessons. They are yours to carry forward. As night fell, Margaret lit a small lantern on her balcony, letting its soft light mingle with the silver glow of the moon. She sat there, sipping tea, and watched the slow dance of leaves in the breeze. Thoughts came and went, memories of the past, hopes for small joys tomorrow, but she allowed them to float without grasping, letting presence itself be enough. Sit with the night. Let thoughts drift freely, without pressure or judgment. She thought of friends far away, of family who could not be near, and of neighbors she had met and forgotten over the years. Instead of longing or sorrow, she felt a quiet gratitude. Each person, each connection had touched her life and remained, if not physically, then within her memory and her heart. Loneliness had softened into something more tender, awareness of presence, both within herself and in the world around her. Feel the gentle presence of those who shaped your life. They live quietly within you. Before sleep, Margaret wrote a final reflection in her journal, a list of 3 small moments from the day that had brought her joy: a shared smile, the bloom of a flower, the soft rhythm of pencil on paper. She closed her eyes, letting the tranquility of her home, the continuity of her memories, and the calm of her own presence cradle her. End your day with gratitude. Even small joys hold great meaning when noticed. The night deepened, carrying with it the subtle whispers of life outside her window, the rustle of leaves, the distant hum of a car, the occasional bark of a dog. Margaret felt a gentle fullness, a sense that life was quietly abundant, even in solitude. With the soft glow of the lantern beside her and her heart attuned to the world's gentle rhythms, she allowed herself to drift into sleep, carried by awareness, reflection, and tender presence. Sleep now. Let quiet and gratitude guide you into rest, safe and at peace.
The morning arrived softly, as if the world itself were breathing gently, carrying light across Margaret's bedroom. She awoke with a sense of calm, her body stretching slowly, each movement deliberate, each breath full and measured.
The quiet of the home wrapped around her, and she felt gratitude for the simple comfort of being alive in a familiar space. Begin the day slowly. Feel your breath, your body, and the gentle rhythm of life. Margaret moved to the kitchen, her hands tracing the smooth surface of the counter as she prepared a cup of tea. Steam rose in delicate spirals, warm and fragrant. She noticed the sunlight catching the edges of her teacup, the soft sway of a plant nearby, and the quiet melody of birds outside. In these small, ordinary things, she found the extraordinary, a gentle, persistent reminder that life existed in the present moment. Notice the quiet beauty around you. It carries the gift of presence. Today, she decided to revisit the old pier by the river, a place she had loved since childhood. The path there was lined with trees whose leaves rustled softly in the morning breeze. As she walked, she felt the subtle rhythm of her steps, each one grounding her in now, each one connecting past and present. She paused to listen, the distant water flowing, a heron lifting from the river, the faint laughter of children playing in the distance. Walk slowly. Let each step remind you that you are part of a larger, living world. At the pier, she sat on a weathered bench, letting her gaze drift across the river's surface. The sunlight shimmered on the water, casting tiny diamonds of light that danced gently with the current. Margaret breathed deeply, feeling a quiet joy in simply observing life unfold, in witnessing the persistent beauty of the world. Observe the world without rush. The flow of life can be a gentle teacher.
She took a small notebook from her bag and began to write, letting thoughts flow freely. She reflected on her life, the people she had loved, the moments of quiet joy, and the lessons learned through solitude. She realized that even in moments of loneliness, she had never truly been alone. Memories, reflections, and small daily actions had always kept her connected to the world and to herself. Write your reflections. Let your thoughts and memories remind you that presence is always available. Margaret noticed a family walking along the riverbank, a child tossing stones into the water, a parent pointing out birds and fish. She smiled gently, feeling a quiet kinship with them, a recognition that life continued to move gracefully through new generations, carrying on quietly, beautifully. She thought about how small gestures of attention, kindness, and care could ripple outward, touching others in ways unseen. Feel the gentle connection to life around you. Every small act matters, even if unseen. Returning home, Margaret carried a small collection of pebbles from the river, each one smooth and cool, a tactile reminder of her day. She placed them on her windowsill, lining them with care. The small arrangement brought her joy, a sense of order and continuity, and a visible reminder that even simple objects could anchor presence and mindfulness. Collect reminders of the day. Let simple objects carry the meaning of your experiences. As evening descended, she prepared a light meal, eating slowly and attentively. She listened to the soft hum of her home, the distant sounds of neighbors settling in for the night, the occasional rustle of leaves outside. Each sound, each movement, carried a gentle rhythm that reminded her of the continuity of life and the quiet abundance of her own presence. Savor each moment. Even the ordinary can bring profound calm and fulfillment. Later, Margaret settled into her armchair by the window, a soft blanket around her shoulders. She held her journal on her lap and wrote one final reflection, a gratitude list for the day. She noted the sunlight on the river, the laughter of children, the shimmer of water, the smooth river pebbles, the warm tea, the peaceful solitude of her home. Closing the journal, she felt her heart full, quietly content, connected to the world and to herself. Reflect on your day. Let gratitude fill your heart and guide you to rest. Before sleep, she opened the window slightly, letting in the gentle night air. She watched the stars appear one by one, a soft, steady light in the darkness. Margaret realized that just as the stars endured, so too did her presence endure, in memory, in reflection, in small acts of care, and in the simple, gentle moments of everyday life. Look to the night sky. Let its calm and permanence remind you of your own steady presence. Finally, Margaret lay in bed, wrapped in a warm quilt. She closed her eyes, listening to the quiet night, the soft whisper of the wind, the distant murmur of life beyond her walls, the steady rhythm of her own breathing. In this stillness, she felt complete, at peace with herself and the world, ready to rest fully, gently, and without hurry. Sleep now. Let the quiet, the memories, and the presence of your own life cradle you into calm rest. The night held her tenderly, and Margaret drifted into a gentle, untroubled sleep. Dreams came softly, carrying the warmth of the day, the presence of memories, and the quiet joy of a life fully lived, even in solitude. Rest deeply. Your life, your memories, your presence are enough. You are safe. You are seen. You are cherished.